Last month, during our Halloween videos, we discussed creatures that have grown to enormous sizes due to the nature of the lands between. During this breakdown, we mentioned that there was one particular giant beast we wanted to save for its own video, due to not only its popularity, but our own thoughts on how it came to be so massive. These horrific creatures are terrifying to come across during our journey, and many Tarnished simply run away from them as quickly as possible, due to the rewards not necessarily being worth the encounter. This massive enemy is known as the Rune Bear, and it's a bear. A really big bear. Yeah, I promise there is more to this if you'll bear with me. Welcome back to Elden Lore, our weekly series where we break down the lore and stories of the people, places, and creatures of the lands between. If this is your first time joining us, please consider subscribing to the channel. Every subscription goes a long way in helping us grow this incredible community that we've been able to cultivate. We also have a Discord where anyone interested in the worlds crafted by From Software can discuss their thoughts, opinions, ideas, theories, or anything else related to their favorite settings. Whether you subscribe or not, thanks for taking the time to join us today. Your viewership is enough, and it is appreciated. With that said, let's get back to the topic at hand. Elden Ring lets you explore the world of the lands between right out of the gate. But if you follow the early cues the game presents you with, you'll most likely encounter your first Rune Bear at the Mistwood Ruins, where it can be found either roaming around the area or sleeping at the entrance to the cave housing the Axe Talisman. These bears are massive creatures with elongated arms and distinct patterns in their fur, and they don't take kindly to random Tarnished plundering their territory. They attack as soon as your presence is known, and will pursue you with long sweeping strikes from their massive claws. The patterns on their chests take on a golden hue, and are reminiscent of runes found in the Farum Azula version of the Elden Ring. We believe this is a clue as to how the Rune Bears came to be. One thing you notice early on when in areas Rune Bears can be found is that there are regular bears around as well. That makes it clear that the Rune Bears are a type of evolution or malformation of a regular bear, not their own unique creature. The question becomes, how exactly do these bears go from being what is essentially a real-world equivalent to a bear to these horrific monsters? We believe the answer to this question lies in their name. When killing a Rune Bear, they have the opportunity to drop a number of items: beast blood, hefty beast bones, lumps of flesh, or gold-tinged excrement. This item is described as someone's excrement. It has a golden tinge, material used for crafting items, often hidden in woods and thickets. Gold-tinged excrement is a highly stable substance. It doesn't dry out, nor does it lose its customary warmth or scent. For better or worse, it remains as it is. In one of our earliest videos, we discussed the worm faces and theorized that the gold-tinged excrement they dropped was due to them literally eating grace, and we think something similar is happening with the Rune Bear. Their excrement is tinged gold because they're consuming runes, or rather, they're consuming the meat of those carrying runes. It's reasonable to assume that the bears of the lands between are taking their food wherever they can get it. Small animals, wandering nobles, kited sellswords, anything roaming the land is a potential meal for a hungry bear, and as we know, everything that can be killed will drop runes. Bears, being the apex predators that they are, would of course make a quick meal of most enemies they encounter, consuming them along with their runes and their power. Consider for a moment that the lands between is a land without true death. Old age will not affect the fauna living here. These bears are able to live and feed until they're cut down in battle. So we believe if a bear lives an incredibly long time without losing a fight, it will consume enough runes to eventually become a Rune Bear. By the rules of FromSoft universes, the stronger an enemy becomes, the larger they grow. so the strength gathered by runes would twist a regular bear and shape it into a massive creature eyes golden, with chest patterns showing their connection to the runes they've consumed over a long life. This is our theory as to how these rune bears came to be, but it's not the only one. It's worth noting that Zully the Witch explored a different origin for the rune bears in the early days of Elden Ring's release that tied them to dragons. Apparently, there was a rune bear that could be fought if breaking the confines of the Elden Ring beta, and upon defeating it, you would obtain a dragon heart. This seems like an odd item drop until you take a closer look at Rune Bear's eyes, as they seem to take on the same yellow hue and slit shape that is found by those who engage in dragon communion. It's possible that in older versions of the game, the Rune Bears were more deeply connected to the ancient dragons, but whether it was due to wanting to limit the number of dragon hearts available to players, or simply dropping the idea along the way, it seems like all that's left of this connection between the Rune Bears and dragons are their eyes. Even if they no longer drop dragon hearts, that doesn't mean the two creatures are unconnected. What if the Rune Bears share the same slit eyes as those who have engaged in dragon communion, because they too have been consuming dragon hearts? Perhaps these bears have taken on the strength of dragons simply by finding their hearts in the wild, or killing some lesser dragons while looking for their next meal. It's also interesting to note that there are two separate wandering nobles in the lands between that will shapeshift into rune bears if attacked. They can be found in Limgrave and the Consecrated Snowfield, and come across as unassuming enemies. If you survive the encounter, each will drop a larval tear, showing that silver tears acknowledge the strength and ferocity of the rune bears, thinking them to be the best form to shift into when forced to defend themselves. These enemies tend to change their form to the largest monster they possibly can, so it makes sense that the shape of a rune bear would find its way into their repertoire. The last topic we want to touch on related to these beasts is their ability to survive in any area of the lands between. Finding them in the woods early on makes sense, as the shade of trees and wildlife in the woodlands are perfect for sustaining their lives. But throughout our quest, we can also find them living in less favorable conditions. Multiple rune bears are found in Liurnia of the Lakes, which has much more wetland than woods, and one is found inside Dragon Barrow Cave in Caelid, a land which has turned most of its animals fetid and crazed. Multiple rune bears can also be found in the Consecrated Snowfield, an area which most would find inhospitable to regular wildlife, as shown by the literal ghosts of small animals that roam around the snowy plains. There are even a couple of rune bears living underground in the deep-root depths, showing that these creatures can survive no matter where they make their home. The rune bears are able to persevere and survive no matter where they end up. The true question is, do we have the bravery or motivation to face down these resilient beasts and prove our superiority as the ultimate apex predators of the lands between? Thank you for joining us for this lore dive into the rune bears found throughout the world of Elden Ring. How do you think they grew to their massive size? Was it decades of eating runes and gaining strength? Or do you believe their power comes from consuming the hearts of dragons? Which rune bear was the first to tear you limb from limb? Do you still fight these enemies when they pounce, or do you simply outrun them? Leave your thoughts and theories in the comments below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you never miss out on any of our lore dives. We look forward to seeing you again for more Elden Lore.